In this video, we're going to talk gluten. We're going to talk about the different grains that contain gluten, how it may affect you. We're going to dispel some myths and hopefully highlight some truths that aren't as readily available out there. Gluten's a hot topic right now. Probably you know somebody who's gluten intolerant. Almost certainly you know somebody who believes they're gluten intolerant, and they might be and they might not be. It's a very difficult thing to see with gluten because gluten, for people that have a problem with it, it causes inflammation in the gut, and inflammation in the gut can lead to a whole host of problems which can show themselves in digestion, but just as often show themselves outside of digestion. So for those people who react to the gluten grain, what you'll see is allergies, you'll see autoimmune deficiencies, depression, fatigue, all kinds of problems associated with it that aren't necessarily digestive problems. And for people who do handle gluten okay, what you'll see is a syndrome I call UNP, unwarranted nutritional paranoia. A lot of people think they're gluten intolerant, aren't. A lot of people who are gluten intolerant have no idea that they're gluten intolerant, and a fair amount of people who do react to gluten know it and are already taking steps. Which one are you? Hopefully this video will help you find out where you fit on that spectrum and how best to handle your situation. So gluten is a specific chemical in the protein of cereal grains. Cereal grains are wheat, rye, barley, spelt, and a couple other ones in there, but those are the big ones. Each one of those grains has a slightly different chemical that is gluten for that grain. So it's very possible that you may react to one of them, but not all four of them. As all the grains are fairly closely related, it's also possible that you will react to all of them. It's possible that you'll react to some, but not to others. And there's really no way to know for sure except to test it specifically on you. Over the past 100 years, we've bred our grains to have more gluten in them because that gluten helps them stick together. It helps them make better tasting baked goods. And those baked goods are such a part of our diet that it's something we become overexposed to over time. If you take a look at the top 10 sources of calories for Americans, number 1 is grain-based desserts, and number 2 is bread. So we're getting wheat, corn. And that is such a staple of our diet that, again, we get overexposed. And some of the problem comes from the wheat itself. Some of the problem comes from the overexposure. Now, a big question mark that hangs over all this that we don't understand and don't know yet is the effect of Roundup on the wheat. Roundup is a pesticide, fungicide that's regularly used on wheat. And there's a process called desiccation, which we've started to do over the past few decades, where shortly before harvest time, they douse all the wheat with Roundup, which helps to kill it and dry it out quicker. It speeds up the harvest. It speeds up efficiency. Now, this is something that the company claims has no effect on humans, and of course they claim that. We haven't proven an effect on humans yet, but it's very difficult to prove beyond a doubt that there is an effect with any of these things. We still haven't proven beyond a doubt that cigarettes are harmful to humans. We've proved beyond a reasonable doubt, and we're starting to see the same kind of thing with Roundup. At this point, Roundup is considered a probable carcinogen by the World Health Organization. Now, is it directly related to gluten intolerance? We have no idea. But to me, it seems strange that we were getting this wave of people who are suddenly reacting to wheat. At about the same time, we start drenching the wheat with poison, and we're blaming the wheat and not the poison. I really do think we should take a longer look at the Roundup and the possibility of the effect on that. So what this means is it's just trickier to figure out what specifically is affecting you. And rather than recommend allergy tests and blood tests, a lot of which don't give you useful information, they give you misleading information, I'm going to recommend that you do this through diet. So if you're curious and if you see some of these effects and if you want to test how it affects you personally, the best way to start is to cut out all of those cereal grains that I mentioned, all the ones that have gluten in them. Cut them out for 3 weeks, and now you have your baseline of how your body feels without them. And you're going to reintroduce them one at a time. And what I would like to see you do during the reintroduction is reintroduce organic grains first and see how that treats you. When you reintroduce them one at a time, and the day you reintroduce them, eat a bunch of it. And if you go 2 or 3 days of that reintroduction eating a lot of that grain and you don't see any of those effects, that grain is probably fine for you. So I would go through and I would test all the organic grains that are important to you to have in your diet. If you never eat rye, there's no point in testing rye on you, but I'm sure you want to test wheat and probably some of the other ones you'll want to test too. Try organic first, and if that suits you okay, try the non-organic afterward and see how that treats you. You'll go through, if you don't see any effects from any of them, you know that it's not specifically a concern for you. Any of the ones you see effects for, you'll know that those would be well suited to cut from your life. Now, the silver lining to all the people that are starting to react to wheat now is there are a lot better alternatives for people that do have issues with gluten than there used to be 10 years ago. So if you do have to cut it from your life, there will be more options available to you. Sound good? Give it a whirl. Pick up some recipes that are rice-based, that are gluten-free. There's a lot of those on the web. I also teach some courses on how to do it. You're welcome to dig into my courses if that's something that interests you. Get some ideas to get you through those first 3 weeks and learn some different ways of cooking. The other great thing about all of this is that it's difficult to be gluten-free and eat processed foods. And when you cut processed foods, you naturally feel better anyway. So it's something that's not a bad idea to do anyway. And then over time, you'll learn whether those grains affect you. And if you find that they don't affect you, keep trying to do the whole foods. Keep trying to stay away from the processed meals and just use those grains as it suits you. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you'd like to hear more, go subscribe to my channel. Thanks. Enjoy.